Hey everyone, welcome back to As the Crow Flies 144. I am Dale, and whether you're my lover, hater, or shady investigator, you should stay tuned in because I'm going to be dropping truth bombs that will destroy your life so that you can rebuild it the way that you want. If you are very, very happy with your life, then you should tune out, okay? Go and do something else. But if you are going to stay and watch and listen, then you must give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, okay? And you must subscribe, all right? I am not giving this stuff away for free. Or okay. I'm giving you stories from my life and I'm trying to teach you from them because I have been completely self-aware since I was a baby because I realized that nobody sees the world the way that I do. Okay. So I when I overthink what my videos should be about, when I overthink about how should I present myself and all these different things, it's like, oh, I realized that the whole formation of this channel was to not be polished, to give you the truth so you have just one source of truth in this world if you have nothing else, because the world around you is so fucking full of lies. People don't even know that they're lying to themselves because we are shifty beings, okay? And it doesn't mean that we are like bad or good for that. It's the fact of what we are. So the only thing that you're going to get here is facts and truth for what I know them to be. And that is like to remove all emotion from experiences and talk about them down to the lowest level of where we can look for like a foundational truth and then determine like how did it create some sort of balance, because I want you to get out of the habit of thinking of things as good or bad, okay? And like people use the word karma, I'm going to try to like use it in appropriate fashion, but I want you to understand, or, okay, understand is the word that we all know, okay? But to understand means that you understand less than the full truth, okay? So I do not want to use that word anymore. And I've picked this up from other like spiritual people and tarot readers and things like that. They say understand or overstand, okay? So I tend to think of like overstanding is sort of what you see on the outside of when you figure out all the lies and all the marketing tools that people are using in this world to take from you. Okay. When I say understanding, that is like my self knowledge. That is this after I've integrated what's happening on the outside into myself and reached a point of neutrality, then that is what understanding is. So I want to give definitions for these things that I'm using. I just realized I don't have my rings on and I like to have them on. So I am going to pause this and put my rings on because this is all about how do you get comfortable enough with yourself to speak the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God. All right. And the only God that there is in this entire fucking universe is the one within you. Okay. So you can believe in whatever you want to, but if you are believing in a structure outside of yourself, and that is where God is, like whether it be the building or whether it be a book, it's going to at some point conflict with your inner self, okay? The God within you. And you're going to be like, this is not a bad thing. All right. I want to tell you, there's no such thing as good and bad. There is only balance so that you have a stable foundation to walk on. I'm just telling you that traditional religions and all that dogma and all that stuff, it does not work for everybody. Okay. There might be a religion that works for each person, but do not judge somebody based on what works for them. Okay. Let me just pause it and I'll come right back. Okay. I've got them on. So this ring, this thing at the center, it was a thumb pick for a guitar, and it was what my father gave to my mother when they got engaged. Okay. Um, and this, okay, yeah. Oh, okay. I'll just finish up what I was saying. So it broke, and eventually, my grandmother, I have her picture right here. Um, she wanted my mom to have like a regular diamond ring, I think. So I don't know how I feel like anytime I tell this story from my memory, I tell it wrong. But I thought that she bought a ring for my mom so she could have like a diamond solitaire, like a real ring. But I think it was that she made my dad get it, or I don't know what it was. But anyway, so my when this thumb pick thing it broke the ring, So my mom came up with this idea like years and years later because she found a silversmith in like the local area to have these rings made. Like we kind of designed the rings and to have the guitar pick as the like stone in the ring. Okay. And then this ring was so much like, okay, I used to live in a haunted apartment and I had a diamond ring from my grandmother because as she was on her deathbed, she had a diamond ring that was from her mother, but then she had two diamonds added to it. So when she was on her deathbed, she wanted one of the stones, the original stone, to go to her sister Rosalie because that was their mother's diamond, and then she wanted one of the stones to go to my sister and one of the stones to go to me. Well, so I had mine designed into a ring that looks very much like this, but garnet is my birthstone. So it was like the diamond was at the center and the garnets were on the side. Okay. But when I was living in this haunted apartment, I used to have two diamond rings. I had one from a previous engagement that the guy bought for me, but then it didn't work out. So I was like, I'm buying it back from you because I don't want any piece of me in your environment. And I don't want any like, oh my God, I spent so much money on her and blah, 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 blah. You know, I didn't want any of that stuff. I don't want any energetic connection. After you failed me in person, you do not get to like think about me or have something of mine, though he has like my high school ring, but whatever. Um, you don't get to look at me as a burden, as if I was the burden. Okay. So when people ask why I do what I do, I am going to tell you everything and why I do it on this channel because I am self aware down to the most minuscule thing of why I do things. And I think most people aren't because you're following a pattern of like what has been taught to you that in society, this is the way that you act, right? And it's like, dude, I see that. And so I play into it because I understand what's like appropriate. But anytime I get to, I'm like, do you know that there's a term Irish goodbye? I didn't realize that this was a term until I like more recently checked out a dating app, Hinge, if you guys know it. And I'll get into more about that later. Maybe not in this video, because what I'm going to do is I'm not gonna, like I've said from the start, I'm not self-editing. I am not, or I'm not editing. Okay. So when I pause it, it's because my train of thought has like gone off the rails. Okay. So, and maybe that's because too much emotion is getting involved in it. This is what I think. This is self-awareness. Okay. Too much emotion has gotten involved and it blocks my ability to communicate. All right. So the people who are like afraid to say or they can't speak for themselves well, even though like they know their truth inside and they feel it inside, it's because they're probably very passionate, emotional people. And like I would say, especially the in terms of men, okay? You men are so much better than we make them out to be, okay? And that's because there are jokers out there doing stupid things, but that's because society said like men are supposed to be this thing and that's it, right? So they don't really know how to communicate like their best stuff because they haven't been trained to do it, all right? And I'll get more into that. Everything has to do with like polarity and energies. And so what I'm going to try to do is make sure that if you're only catching one video, like one of my videos for your entire life, then I want to make sure that I speak on the most important things that I've learned per video. Okay. I mean, I want to include it in like each video. So understanding polarity is the best thing that you can do in order to understand like what we think of as good and bad. Okay. Because positive is okay, because there's positive and negative. If you think of a battery, right? Positive and negative. You're not like looking at the battery like you must be the bad side because you have the negative sign on you, and you must be the good side because you have the positive sign on you. It's like that's not how batteries work. They don't work on judgment, okay? So it's the fact that they work through like magnetics and energy and the flow of magnetics from positive to negative, okay? We all know that because we've learned it in school. And if you look, that's like how thermodynamics work, right? Like heat, it's the really bouncy molecules. They're moving from like the hot point at the bottom of the stove, right? If you have like a pot of boiling water, they're moving upwards because heat rises. Okay. So then it does these cycles. So you have to understand that everything happens in cycles. And speaking of cycles, because it looks like a cycle, it's or a ring, I'm using my ring light now instead of the lamp that I've been using before because that's like my painting lamp. And so I'm trying to make sure that as I get my life more organized, I'm using the right tools for the job, okay? If they exist. All right? If they don't exist or they're too expensive or, if it's just too troublesome to get it, work with what you got until you can like afford something better. All right. So anyway, I'm using the ring light now and it's like super blinding. It's on its lowest uh light, whatever. And yeah, so anyway, let me pause it. Okay, we're 10 minutes in. It would probably be great if I could like have already said the whole content of my video within this 10 minutes, but I don't care. Okay. I do all of my videos freestyle, just so you know. If you don't like think that you can just like freestyle in this world, it's because you are not comfortable with the world seeing who you are. All right. So that's why I don't go back and edit the videos. I pause them until I can get my like train of thought on track. You guys should really watch Inside Out, the Disney movie Inside Out, because they have such awesome concepts for how the mind works as far as like how they turn it into animation. All right. It's so fucking accurate. Go watch it. I don't care that it's a kids movie. That means that you should probably be able to understand it because you're a big grown adult, right? Or hopefully you're a kid because like what okay. I seem to be very popular with my kids, like friends or like my son's girlfriends, and as they come and go and whatever, it's so weird. But anyway, so I have my daughter's shirt on today. It says "Let's Trip," though it doesn't look like that. It looks like multiple other different things, but it's a Sterniolo shirt. All right, and this was like YouTubers that she really liked. So am I fans of them? Not really, but because she is, I've watched them. So now at least I like feel in alignment with what they're doing and I know what they're doing. So you really should pay attention to what your kids are doing and maybe try to find some interest in it because if they are offspring of you, chances are in their DNA, they have interests that are similar to yours if you'll just be willing to admit to them. All right, pause. Okay. So I must say it, and I'm going to have to start saying it at the beginning of the videos. I want you to watch my videos in double speed. I don't care if you don't want to, okay? I want you to see what you're capable of, all right? Because sometimes, okay, I know for sure with me, when I watch videos in normal speed, I'm like, holy fuck, there's only so many minutes in a day. But what I'm doing when I watch videos in double speed is I'm collapsing down time, okay? So, you know how they always talk about like wormholes through space and like space is like this. If you take and they draw it on a piece of paper and they like put two different dots and say that if you travel from point A to point B, it takes this long. But if you like fold the universe in on itself, you've created a wormhole so you can get directly from A to B instead of going the long way. All right. Okay. Is that concept true? In certain ways, we can just prove it in our regular life. And this happens to be one of those ways. And when I'm taking the long road from A to B, and I'm like sitting in a classroom and listening to what these people are saying, it's like they're not moving fucking fast enough for me. They're not telling me the concepts fast enough. So my brain, because it's so bored all the time, it's running around at like a million miles an hour, thinking about other things, being distracted. You want to call this ADHD? Fine, that's fine. ADHD is nothing more than the thing that uh symbolizes people who are bored in this life and want more. They want love, they want community, okay? And because they're not getting that thing, they're distracted, all right? I'm speaking of this in terms of my own self-knowledge, okay? You have to understand, okay, this is probably my biggest fear is you knowing that I am just completely obsessed with love. I'm completely obsessed with it, all right? And I don't want you to know that. So on the surface, I'm like cool and collected and I'm like one of the bros and it's because I knew when I was like very very young that the only thing that matters in life is love. But then when I looked out into the world I'm like where is the love? Where is it? And you only see it in uh artistic creations, okay? So like movies, songs, all right? If you want to know if what you are feeling is common with somebody else, just see if the theme pops up in a movie. Just see if there's a song in it or like made for it, okay? And this, for example, I felt so fucking irritated yesterday. I felt so like I was just rattling the bars of my cage, right? It's just like I'm so sick of being caged in something that I did not do. Okay. And that is what I think that what we think is that people cause their the bad things that happen to them or the good things that happen to them. Okay. You don't cause anything in your life. You are just reacting to all the things that happen to you. Okay. So when I was like sitting in my feelings yesterday, I'm like, damn, it's never going to get better. It's never going to get better. But the truth that I know is that there is a song called, well, let me just sing it. Let me think. Hang on. Lord, what a difference a day makes. 24 little hours brought the sun and the flowers where there used to be rain. And then, like, at the end of the song, I'm sure you guys all know that song, right? Okay. And that was probably made in, I don't know, the 20s, 30s, 40s, somewhere around there. And what she sings at the end is, and the difference is you. So it's like, I know you guys know what that is, all right? I know you know what it is to like meet to run into somebody and they just change your whole world because you realize that, oh yeah, love does exist, right? And then you fuck it up somehow because you're not self-aware and because you're like trained to you're trained by society, you're formed by society, okay? And they could never get me. Society could never get me, all right? They like I understand and I can play along, but you're never going to get me because my self-awareness is so deeply embedded within me that I realize that I am not just like this thing in this one lifetime. Like when people say, like, tell me about yourself or like, who are you or whatever, it's like, well, then you start listing off these things like, well, I'm a mother, I was in the army, I was like, that's not who you are. It's like, what do you feel inside? What feeds you, right? For me, so this leads me into all this shit that I've got on my table right now. All right, because it all has meaning. So let me just I talk about cigarettes so much. I told you about my rings and why they're important. I wanted to write a book entitled "Do You Want a Cigarette?" because I have been smoking since I was 9, and I want the chapters to be broken down based on what type of cigarettes I was smoking at the time and what was going on and like why did I shift from one to another. Okay, so I just made a shift yesterday and my brand of cigarettes. All right, now um I love Native Americans. Okay. I love the like the concept of the way that they live. They don't have a religion. They just honor everything as sacred. Okay. They are a matriarchal community. And again, that is not just like about men and women. It's about like what is the benefit of masculine energy versus feminine energy. Okay. And we're going to talk about this more and more because I can't talk about everything or it's going to be forever. Though I was thinking yesterday that I just need to be in isolation for a week and I like shouldn't post any videos for the next week. But I realized that the benefit of being a woman is that we work in cycles like the moon, okay? Like this moon thing behind me, see? And it's a fact, all right? It's a fact. Women work on cycles. Our emotions fluctuate because our hormones are fluctuating. And men and women have the same hormones, but we are not on the same cycle because men cannot have babies, all right? So I get this like gender dysphoria. I get not fitting in. I get all that stuff. I have to burp because I am like clearing energy. Hang on. Okay, energetic burps, they never like come out and feel like they're cleared like an actual physical burp because of like soda or whatever. So okay. Let me just move on as my thoughts want to move on because if I get stuck on one thing for too long, we'll be here until I'm 50. All right. So anyway, I love Native Americans. I don't know what the proper thing is to call them. I don't know what the proper thing is to call the reservation where we go to get our cigarettes for less money, but that's where I like to go, okay? And I remember that one of the people who like worked at the shop, he was say I think I mentioned reservation. He's like reservation isn't I don't know. It's like well, all I can think of is like imperialist term, right? And so I can't remember what it was, tribal lands. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. But anyway, so my chosen brand of cigarettes were these Senecas. Okay, extra smooth menthol hundreds because I always like smoking hundreds. All right, it's just because of the length of the filter. That's what I like about it. All right. And it looks kind of cleaner, right? That whole white and green concept, they add that into marketing. So it's like a cleaner concept. Well, I noticed as soon as I pulled up to go and get more cigarettes, I noticed this Mojave sky. And it was like an ad on the outside of the building. And then I go in and I see like a table set up, and then I see Mojave Sky, blah, 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 all this stuff inside. And this is them. Now, I don't like yellow filtered cigarettes, but these are yellow filtered. But they have, I was like, is this a new brand of cigarettes? And she was like, yeah, and they're all natural. So if you feel like, because I was asking if they had different strengths of menthol, she was like, well, they're all natural. So you might find that they are more gentle than like, you know, that the other brands might be a little bit harsher. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't like the yellow because it will dye your fingertips. And I just think certain things, when they look dirty to me, they feel dirty to me. And yellow filtered cigarettes, they feel dirty to me, but that's okay. I am excited about these because she was like, "Well, do you just want to try like a trial one?" They have these little bags of like two trial cigarettes. And then she said, and I said, "No, you know what? Because normally when I make a decision to switch something, I don't give a shit about the like trial or whatever. I'm like, I'm just gonna make this commitment. And if I don't like them, then so be it." So I was like, I'll just buy a carton, right? And so she was like, "Oh, that's even better because if you buy a carton, then you get a free pack." Okay, the carton of these was 27.50, $27.50. Do you know how much a carton of Marlboros is right now? It's got to be like $120. All right. So, and they are not all natural. I will tell you, they burn faster. They give me a headache. They make my throat sore. I will never go back and spend way more money than I have to. Because these are my, like, they're my therapy. They're my stress reducer. Okay. You don't get to tell me what I get to do with my life because your suggestions have been terrible for my life. Okay. So anyway, and then like I watch tarot readings, and I was just watching one before I'm doing this video, and she was like, she kept talking about the sun, and she was like, "Oh, you must be seeing like there was a sun and a moon." Hang on. Okay. This is a tile that my mother bought me. You see this sun and moon? This is exactly, well, not exactly, but it is the first tattoo that I ever got. My mom came with me to like watch and supervise or whatever, and I was 16, and it looked just like this. Okay, except not exactly, but close enough. All right. So anyway, the tarot card that the girl was holding up looked just like that. And then she picked another one, and it was like a full sun with all the rays, no moon in it. And then she just kept making all these connections to like the sun. And she was like, "You must be seeing this around you a lot." Well, I had sent a couple of texts yesterday where I included that emoji in it, right? And then I'm like, I look beside me and I'm like, "Oh, that looks like the sun," right? And so I am just trying to show you how things connect and how things speak to me, because all the things that the world are saying and that people around me are saying are bullshit. Okay? It's bullshit because you've been fucking programmed. All right? So I know you want what's best for me. I know you want me to be like direct and focused in these videos, but it's not how I do best. It's not how I get myself out of my shell, all right? So I don't give a fuck if it's not like perfect. It's what I'm fucking doing. So anyway, um my sister and I get together this weekend, and she asked like, do I have any wine at the house, or would I mind going to get some before I go over there? And listen, I was saying in one of my videos that my ex-husband, we had been married for 13 years and he only cooked for me once, okay? And I'm telling you, it's the truth. He cooked chicken, uh what was it, corn and mashed potatoes. Man, the images are right in my mind, but to translate them into words, it takes a minute. So I understand you people who can't translate your thoughts into words. I get it. And because I already know what you're thinking, I sort of help you translate what you're saying, okay? And then you're like yes or no, and then you help me to refine it, all right? So you would experience it if you were in person with me, but you wouldn't, like, we wouldn't be talking through all the things that are going on. We'd just be having the conversation. So anyway, I pause. Okay. So she oh, the reason why I was saying about that, he only cooked me one meal and like the chicken wasn't cooked all the way, and he kind of knew that. He was like, "Is it cooked all?" Anyway, so that was only one time, and that was like really before we had kids. We had one son and he was in the hospital. So I want you to know that it's not like I have no love at all. It's just that like it's my family who gives it to me. Okay. My sister, I think it was the day that I had made that video that she invited us over to eat. And she never usually invites just one person. Where my mom, speaking of, okay, my mom, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, mom. She's 50, no, 50. She looks like she's in her 50s. She's 76, okay? Um, my parents, they are nothing like their age. So anyway, my mom will only like include one family at a time, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, but my sister's not like that. She will include everybody. All right. So but not everybody always shows up, and then you feel a little bit of disappointment in those things. But I want to teach you how to roll with the punches in this life and not get stuck in your emotions. Have your emotion, get that little feeling of like, oh, I really wanted you all to be here, and then move past it, okay? Because the other person is already feeling guilty too. So, like, lower the guilt within yourself so that you are not energizing their guilt, because we are connected on like on an invisible layer, all right? Ah, okay, so frustrating. It takes so long to get a message out because inside of me, they just all exist and they're all right here. But on the outside, I have to like take time to try to focus it, to try to put the right words together. Okay. So just please watch the fucking videos in double speed because it's what I want. All right. I'm the one creating it. Please watch them in double speed. So she invited us over for dinner, and I was like, thank goodness. Thank goodness, because nobody shows up in my life to love me the way that I want. And like, then I can't give my best self to somebody else because then I'm just giving and giving and giving. If you want to see the capacity of my love, then you have to be willing to give me 100% of the capacity of your love. Okay. That's just how it is. So, my like previous partners, it's like you started out with words saying like you never want to hurt me, you love me more than anything, you want to marry me, right? They started out with this early on, so I didn't need to go on dates with them because they said that they wanted to get married. So I was like, oh well, then let's not waste money on the date, let's invest all of ourselves into ourselves. Okay, that's why I get married quick. Why waste a ton of money and time on dating and all this other stuff if you already know that you want to get married? All right, because otherwise you're just like, okay. So anyway, so my sister invites us over for dinner, and we go over there, and I'm trying to figure out, oh, okay, so it had to do with the wine. So she introduced me to this wine called Prophecy. It is so good. All right. There's like multiple different kinds, but it's a California wine. And they always have beautiful artwork on it. Okay. Wine is art. You have to understand that. So if they take the time to put beautiful artwork on it, then it's probably a good wine. Also, if they take the time to put nothing on it, like if it's just a black label or something like that, it's probably amazing because they're not trying to sell you their label. But I did not get to the prophecy wine because when I saw these, like she's got the other bottle, but I got this one because this one is completely speaking to me. The other bottle, it had artwork on it that had like fire in the sky, and I should just take a picture of it, but it looked like the Tower card in tarot. It looks, which is like destruction and like lightning and all this other stuff, but it's kind of like a sketch. It's not a super well done piece of artwork, but this one was right next to it. Now I have to show you this because this is a queen snake from what I know. And I'm going to show you because I designed a tattoo. This, I believe, is a version of a king snake. But the one that I originally saw, okay, and they're like, they're in these roses, okay? All right, and there's birds. This is like my tattoo. All right, so let me pause it and I've got like 3 layers of shirts on right now. So let me pause it. Hang on. Okay. So what I wanted to show you are my tattoos. Now, I have it's so hard to show you because I always try to make sure that my tattoos have this like wraparound theme, and that can be hard for some artists to get. But I try to force it anyway because it's what I want. All right. So try to get your tattoo or try to find a tattoo artist who is willing to give you what you want. Okay. They have their specialties and they have like what they're good at and what they prefer to do, but they're artists. Okay. See if they are willing to stretch the boundaries of what they've done previously to give you something that you want, and you be willing to accept whatever it turns out to be. All right. Because it's like a birth of a new thing. All right. It's not, there's so many like, births that are not an actual birth of a child. Okay. So it's like, all right, never mind. That has to do with tarot. So anyway, so I got this tattoo to symbolize my children. Okay. This mother. All right. That's me. And I got it directly over a scar because when I was pregnant with my first son, my ex-husband, he kept wanting to like break up with me and be with another girl, but he had like fooled me into thinking that he was really excited to be with me and have a child with me. Now, I used to try to get pregnant with somebody else. Somebody else tried to give me a baby because we had promised to be together in the future. And so he knew that I didn't really want or need a husband around. I just wanted my kids because I wanted to influence them. And ever since I was young, when I first decided that I wanted kids, I never really saw like who the man was going to be in my life. I never really saw them in the visions of what I was like doing in my life. What I saw was just I it's like an inner knowing. It's that I was going to have a bunch of kids and it was just going to be me and them. And then when I met my ex-husband and he was like right away wanting to like, oh, I love you and um I never want to hurt you and all this other stuff and we decided 2 days after we met that we wanted to get married. Um so I was like, all right, let's go for this, right? So I got pregnant on the first time that we were together. All right. That I did not expect that because I had tried in the past to get pregnant and my doctors had told me I don't know if you ever will be able to. Okay. So this was a fucking miracle. All right. So anyway, so I'm like maybe 3 months pregnant. I don't even think it was that long. And I could tell his energy, my ex-husband's energy was getting shifty. And I was like, is this about a girl? What's going on? And I really didn't think that he was going to say that it was about a girl, but it was. So anyway, so he kept asking for an annulment. And he lived okay on a different camp than me. You have to understand the way that I've lived my life is very different from the way that you've lived your life because I was in the army and all this other stuff. So he could get away with this. One day I showed up at his camp as a surprise because honestly it was like the first time I had gotten a maternity shirt and I thought it was cute and I wanted to show up as like his pregnant wife. And so I expected him to like be in his room. So I go and I find his room and I am like, I knock on the door, nobody is there. So I'm standing outside in his hallway and he comes eventually. I don't remember how long I was there for, but he comes walking up with his friends and he has a case of beer on his shoulder. Okay. And I'm not talking about like a case of beer that you buy. I'm talking about like a case that would be outside of a restaurant because in Korea they have all their beer like stacked outside their back door in those like beer holders. I don't know, it's like a blue container, plastic container. Um so he comes walking up with this and his friends are there. When he sees me, his face just dropped and he was like, "Oh, hey." And then so I got to experience what his world was like when I'm not around. Okay. And then, so I was hanging out with him and his friends, and I heard them call him Jekyll and Hyde. And I was like, because we had already gone through this, like, I want to be together, I don't want to be together. Okay. But maybe it was the first or the second time that he had done it. This ties back into the tattoo because I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to slit my wrists, right? Because he was putting me through such turmoil. Like it was insane. All right. And I'm trying to focus on me and my job and all the extra stupid stuff that I had to do as a PFC. I was a fucking PFC at the time and I was 23 and they had me like in charge of the immunization clinic and working as a postal clerk, but also I was a medic and I had to be on 24-hour CQ all the fucking time. So when did I get a break? Never. All right. So he was like my break. He was like, okay, in all this world of chaos, I get to have my lover. Okay. Well, he wasn't much of a lover because well, actually he was a great lover because he loved a lot of people. So pause. All right. So I was like contemplating suicide because I did not think that it was fair that he could destroy my life this way just because he was unstable and like couldn't figure out what he wanted. Because when I want something, I've wanted it for my whole entire life. And oh my gosh. All right. My freaking microphone wasn't on. So fine. All right. Okay. So I've wanted it my whole entire life. And then I'm like, oh, I found a person who wants the same thing. I don't even consider that there is such a thing as wavering in the things that you want. I didn't know it was possible until I met him. Okay. Maybe this sounds crazy to you, but I think it's crazy to think something within you of what you want and then to act out differently, to act on the outside differently. So, So I had gotten to experience this Jekyll and Hyde within him, but I didn't have a name for it, right? So when I went up to his camp, oh, okay, let me finish up why I got the tattoo. Because instead of like killing myself, because I had to sit and rationalize it, instead of getting stuck in my feelings, and I had to think, what is best for me? What is best for my family? And what is best for the child within me? Because I was pregnant. And it's like, probably not to take my life. But I have so much pain inside right now. I can't drink. I can't smoke, right? Because I'm pregnant and everybody around me is drinking and smoking. And also, I was in motherfucking Korea, like where they were launching off fucking missiles that I didn't even know from North Korea. It was my mom who told me about it because she was in Buffalo watching the news. But us in the military, we did not know. They like keep it a secret. All right. So I found out from there that, like, I'm just telling you, I've been in these situations that are more chaotic than what you've been through, but I have the same emotions. So you have to understand what caused my emotions and how I worked through them with intelligence, not just like, um, reacting in the moment, okay? Because that is the lower brain. It's so important. I have all this stuff around me that I want to get to. And 3535 is what I just saw on the timer, which is like 88 in numerology. Anyway, the body keeps the score. You have to understand what is going on. You have to understand, okay? You have to overstand. You have to overstand what's going on in the outside world. And then you have to understand what is going on, like how that affects you, because all it tells you is what you accept and what you are not willing to accept. Okay. If something doesn't feel right inside based on what's going on in your outer environment, then that means that you don't accept it. You don't feel comfortable with it. Okay. And that means just acknowledge that. Just be willing to acknowledge that within yourself. Just don't put yourself in denial of your own truth, because that's how you end up staying in fucked up situations like this one for way longer than you should. You deserve better. Okay. You deserve what's true to you. All right. So, anyway, so after having all this rational thought, I decided to cut my arm. All right. I cut my arm right here because I had to see that I was in pain. I had to have a physical representation of what was going on inside of me. So if you don't understand people who cut themselves or have risky behavior, because there is such an imbalance between what they feel inside and the outside world, that they have to create a balance. Okay. It's nothing more than that. It's not bad or good. It is balance. All right. You need to understand that and stop like judging them. All right. Because if you haven't been in that situation to where you have contemplated not living anymore, then you are lucky. Okay. It means that things are not so out of alignment in your world to where it's destroying you inside. So, anyway, I don't know if I told him that I did it. And it doesn't matter if anybody saw it. It just looked like a cut on my arm. That's all it was. All right. So don't everybody like panic about this. This was like 18 years ago because my son's 18 now. So I got this mother tattoo over top of it. Okay. This is how it always links back. People think that I go so far off the rails that my story is never going to link back in. But I'm telling you, everything is a cycle completed. And so you need to understand these things, that I create the completion. Okay. So I got this tattoo because I want people to know that I am a mother. It is number one. It is most important to me. Okay. I am now distributed into four individual people in this world, and I care more about them than myself. So that is my fire in life, right? That is what sets me on fire, is to make sure that they have a world that deserves, that is high value enough that the world deserves the high quality that they are, is I think what I'm trying to say. I often find that whatever I'm saying inside of myself, it's so very clear. And then when I listen to it back, I'm like, I said the total opposite thing of what I meant to. I'm going to wrap it up with this, the tattoo and how it links into that wine bottle. And then I'm going to pause and I'm going to continue on with other stories because I just can't stand these videos being so fucking long. All right. And probably just put out a ton of information. As much as I can do on camera today is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go with the cycles of my feelings. Okay. And how I want to show up, because this channel is about me. What I'm going to teach you is how to be self centered. Thank you to all the narcissists in my life. You have taught me how to be self centered. But the power that I have is that because I've always been selfless, is that I've learned how to find positivity and appreciation and gratitude no matter what space I am, no matter no matter what space I am in, no matter what circumstances people are like attacking me with, I know how to find gratitude and inner peace no matter where I am. Sometimes it takes time. Like yesterday, I was so pissy, right? It took time. If I just sat in the feelings of yesterday and like pulled them into today because I felt so shitty yesterday, then I didn't use the feelings properly. Okay. So I give myself the grace to be able to do whatever the fuck I want, to be able to say whatever I want because I have a good heart and I'm going to teach you how to be self centered. Okay. Because you should be. All right. So, anyway, pause.